Becoming a profitable trader while also working a 9-to-5 job is almost impossible. That's why I've created this specific strategy so you can trade at any given moment in time. Because here's the problem. If your strategy only works when you're available at specific times, then your strategy isn't even broken, but you're not able to actually live the lifestyle that trading is requiring from you. So I've just told you, you're basically trying to live a lifestyle that you are not in right now. So let's compare you to a full-time day trader. A full-time day trader, he doesn't have a boss, has all the time in the world, so it doesn't even matter whether or not he's showing up because he can trade whenever he wants to and also work whenever he wants to. He's also not dependent on a paycheck by the end of the month. And you're basically trying to become this guy with all of his attributes, but you are just simply not there yet because you're away during the regular trading sessions, you're dependent on your boss monthly paycheck, and most importantly, and this is what most people actually get wrong, they need money in order to fund their trading journey. Because without getting the money, how are you really going to become a profitable trader? It's not really going to be possible. So that also means that everybody on YouTube who's telling you that, okay, just quit your job and go all in, that's the worst possible case they can go for, because that would mean that you basically have no money in order to fund your trading journey. So don't take these guys' examples, because think about it this way. How many times have you opened your charts and said, wow, this would have been the perfect setup if I would have just been there? So let's just say as an example, it created this FUG, fell back into it, clean delivery, and then from here on you're taking the trade, stop loss above a high, and you take profit shooting for a 142. How many times has this happened to you, but you just simply missed because only at the time when you take profit gets hit, you got actually back from home. And the next thing is, you'll be thinking, well, I can still take the continuation. Let me just take another trade. Maybe I'm still not too late because the setup has formed, but I can still take it, right? So I'm just going to put my stop loss in here and my take profit aiming for a 142. A lot of the times what you will see is going to end up happening. The market will just punish you for actually not sticking to the rules. So you see what happened in here? Price moved exactly where you wanted to go. It would have been actually a very solid trade if you would have been there at that specific time. But just simply because you're working or just busy doing something else, it doesn't even have to be your 9-to-5 job, you couldn't take the trade and therefore you're just mad and you're trying to revenge trade, which will ultimately result in a loss. And to be honest, missing a trade feels even worse than actually losing a trade. Because after that, you'll be thinking, man, this could have been easy 2K profits or whatever it's going to be. And here's an example how it used to be for me when I was working a regular job. And then I'm only home at 6 p.m. and the markets have already moved. Asia session, London, New York, it doesn't matter, everything is already gone. Now the thing in here is that I didn't even lose any money. I actually lost opportunities to actually make money out of the markets. About everything that I've just shown you. All of these different cycles and things that we have to go through in order to eventually start trading within our day. This is only in an ideal scenario. Everybody that has ever worked a regular job, you know that it's not going to look like this perfectly. Something will always get in between. So even if you finish work, you might have to go grocery shopping or whatever it is going to be at the end of the day. So the reality is always a little bit different. This is only in the most ideal scenario where I'm actually able to do trading and actually become a profitable trader. And that's where it actually hit me. So when I went to YouTube to look out for some strategy that might help me in my entire situation, I realized that all of these different strategies are created for people that are already profitable traders. So it doesn't even make any sense. Oh, there's actually my video. So even if you try scalping the markets or whatever it is actually going to be at the end of the day, you need an approach where the market is not dependent on which time of the day you're actually trading. So I asked myself a very simple question. What if I didn't need precision? What if I didn't need a specific time of the day where I would have to appear in order to make money off the markets? And that's exactly the moment where a negative risk to reward was born, and I actually started trading it. And not even because it's better, makes more money or anything like that. The pure idea of me starting this entire strategy was originally designed because I couldn't trade at the regular sessions. But now I have actually refined it to the point where this strategy makes more money than anybody trading a high risk to reward. Now, before you're having a couple of doubts whether or not a negative risk to reward is profitable or not, I have actually made an entire video which proves to you inevitable that it is actually profitable, and it makes a lot of sense why more people should actually trade it. If you want to look at it, it's in the description down below. But let's actually talk further why a negative risk to reward will always be better if you're working a regular job. Why? Because do you see all of these candles? Now this is currently on the 1 hour chart. Each single one of these candles could have been a valid entry. Why? Because as long as you're drawing liquidity, so in this case it's this high, did not get hit, you can enter the trade at any given moment in time. It doesn't even matter. So in the strategy that I will present to you a little bit later in this video, you will actually see that most of the times you'll have hours on end where you can actually take the entry until the trade actually runs into a take profit. Now, and here's the actual contrast between a higher risk reward and a lower risk reward. You see how in this specific trade it says that the risk reward is 2. So basically you risk 1 to gain 2. Now, granted, a lot of the times you will miss the trade. But sometimes the market gives you another opportunity to trade, right? But let's just say you will also miss that one. Now you'd be thinking, well, the drawn liquidity has not been hit yet, so I can also implement that in my high risk reward strategy. Well, not really. Notice how it's saying 2 right now. If I'm going to put my entry in here, we are already at the negative risk reward territory. Now, if you're going to do this just like that, then it's not going to work because your win rate is pretty low because you have a high risk reward. The original trade was looking something like this, and you're basically decreasing your entire profits by more than 100%. Because now the risk reward of this one is a 1 for 0.79. So if you're just going to implement a negative risk reward like that, is not going to work. Because yes, you might win a trade, you might win another one, but eventually this is not going to work because your strategy is not modified by actually working in a negative risk reward environment. Now keep in mind, I'll also show you the strategy that I personally use, but for now we have to understand a couple of different concepts. So let's just imagine that you're trading your regular session. So let's just say that all of this is New York and it's going to expand for another couple of hours. The problem here once again is that, let's just say you are in this specific moment of time. So you see some kind of setup forming within this specific FEG. Well, now this is on the 5-minute time frame. So basically you're given one chance, so that's 5 minutes. You're maybe given another chance, and then from here on the market takes off. See, this is exactly what I mean. You're given so little time to actually react, but this is still not all. Within these 10 minutes, the pressure is so hard on your psychology that how are you really going to trade this? You are being pressured by the market to enter right now. And this is exactly where second guessing starts coming into the play. You'll be thinking, is this really the correct setup? Do I really take this? Or is it really just a fake out? And then you realize this was actually your trading setup. But since there is so much pressure on you because this is a higher risk reward, and you're also given just so little time to react, you'll just miss the trade. And this is the exact difference between me and somebody who is trading a higher risk reward. I can take a random trade onto the chart and most likely it'll still end up in a take profit simply because I'm trading a negative risk reward. But this is also another thing. You see how this entire price action is just consolidating. Well, you have been taught that a consolidation is very bad when you're trading. With a negative risk reward, that is also not the case. You actually love consolidating markets because if it's consolidating, your trade has a higher potential to actually take profit simply because it's just hovering around between a specific range, and that will result into your take profit eventually just getting hit. Even if it goes higher into your drawdown for a bit, eventually the take profit will be hit because once again, this is a consolidation. Price goes higher, lower, higher, lower, higher, lower. It doesn't go anywhere, which eventually will lead to your take profit hit. So when you don't need perfect timing, then you are not psychologically restricted. You don't really care if the price goes into a drawdown or not, but this is not going to happen with a high risk reward. You will find yourself a lot of the times, not even find yourself, but you have done this so many times. Price has stopped you out, then let me take another trade. And this trade will eventually also run into a stop loss. And you barely missed your take profit simply because you were shooting for a high risk reward. And then eventually you start downing your edge in the market. You'll be thinking, man, I'm just taking loss after loss because I'm longing. Well, let me take an actual short this time. And you'll see that the market will punish you for not sticking to your rules. So I'm going to show you an example and leave a comment down below if this has ever happened to you. So you see a price forming at the New York session now, but you are currently at your work. You have even set a couple of alarms just so you are set and you actually know when things are going to get busy. Let's just say a certain swing high has been taken out, and from here you were like, man, this is the perfect setup. However, your boss is also nearby, so you cannot take it right now. So you're not able to take it at the exact moment, which is right in here, where your setup was forming, but you had to take it in a delayed perspective. And I've also told you previously that if you're going to do this, and it's not going to work because you don't have an edge in the market with this kind of stuff. Now, but what if your strategy didn't have minutes, but actual hours on end where you could take the actual setup? I'm not even talking about precision here, and I'm also certainly not talking about you just not caring about session times at all, because I'll also give you a specific session time where it's more likely to play out, and most people are actually not at work at that time. but more in just a bit. But generally speaking, it really does not matter when you're going to enter the trade. Why? Because you are trading a negative versus reward. You don't care if it's going to take minutes, hours, or whatever until the take profit gets hit. For anybody that is watching new, I'll never recommend to you something that I actually don't like myself, which is why I want to introduce you to a TSG broker. Now, if you have seen my prop firm tier list video, then you know that I've put it at the S tier. Why? Because the Fivers is just simply the best prop firm out there. But now they actually have a broker with low spreads, low commission, and the more you're going to deposit, the better the benefits are going to get. Their layout is clean, nothing is too complicated, exactly how trading should be. But in order to make money with this broker, you need a proven strategy. So let's get into it. Now I'll break down to you my strategy, and I promise to you, if you're just going to miss one simple concept in here, then strategy is not going to work. So pay attention to what I'm telling you in here. First of all, I go into the daily time frame, and I want to look out for a very simple thing. I'm not taking any trades here. I'm not here to enter and certainly also not to micromanage any random parameters. Now personally, I like to keep it super simple. I ask myself one question. Are we going for the previous day high, or are we going for the previous day low? That is basically the foundation of what I'm doing every single day. In this case, since we have already established movement onto the upside, it is safe to say that we'll go for the previous day high and not for the previous day low. But this is still not all. That's exactly why I'm telling you, pay attention. We have an FEG in here. Now, I like to trade FEGs differently than anybody else who is trading these kinds of concepts, because I like to trade into the FEGs and not away from them. So we basically already have two things that are speaking for us to trade onto the upside. So after that, I drop down onto the 4-hour time frame and I basically look for similar things. What I like to see is that we have some kind of FEG that we have already traded into. Now this is where a lot of you guys are going to get confused. I've just told you that I like to trade into the FEGs, such as this one on a daily time frame. Yes, that is the case. But that also doesn't mean that FEGs can't act as support and resistance. Now in this case, we've already traded into this FEG. One time and the second time. So this now counts for me as a protective swing low that price will most likely not trade back into for now. But what else is there on a 4-hour chart alone? As you can see, we have a swing high in here and we also have another one. So these are now relative equal highs, which means that price will likely go to this kind of level because there's a lot of liquidity residing above these kinds of levels. So as you can see, we're not just trading one concept or two concepts, we are building an entire framework in order to take a trade, because this is what professionals do and certainly not what everybody else is teaching on YouTube. So now we are on the 1-hour time frame, and once again, I'm keeping it extremely simple. What do we want price to do? We want to trade higher. So from here on, you're going to start your day at the MOS session times. Now, what is the MOS session time? It begins from 0 AM UTC Standard Time and ranging all the way to 1 AM UTC Standard Time. Now look, this is not an official session time like New York, Asia, or London, whatever it's going to be. This is a session customized for this type of trading style. But here's the next thing. You don't have to trade at these specific times. I've told you previously, you can take a trade at any given moment. It's just what I do to increase even more probable trade setups. So from here, you start at the 1-hour chart and you want to aim for either the previous day high or the relative equal highs for more profits. Now this is going to depend on concept, and I can just simply not tell you everything in one video. But from here, your stop loss is going to be below the protective swing low that we have identified earlier. And from here, that's most likely in basically every single day a take profit hit. Now, if you want to know more about the strategy, it has a 95% win rate. Now guys, this strategy is great. It works for everybody that is working a 9-to-5 job. However, you also need the right guidance in order how to execute these trades. So either you would have to watch the other videos that I've made on this strategy, which gives you more information about it, or you can also take the shortcut. My mentorship is in the description down below with a full backtesting session explaining everything from A to Z on how to do this consistently every single day. So click on this side of the screen to understand the strategy even further, because I'm going to explain more details on this one. If you still haven't clicked on the video, then leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as these videos take a lot of time. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.